here we go. So now I'm gonna go ahead and tear into this right here. Never really done this way before, so I'm doing video and opening this thing up. There you go. Let's see. Probably this thing. There. Got it. This looks like the upper half. Heavy stuff. Engine lever. Leveler, I mean. Not lever. Leveler. It's late. It's like midnight my time. I'm crazy enough to be awake right now. Let's get all the pieces here. Yeah, this is the... Looks like the upper part. This is the mid-frame thing. Bing. Alright. Alright, let's see. They're just little bits and pieces I'll get to. Alright. Unbox. Move that over here. Get the other box. See what that is. Where'd I put my... would you know it? I kind of lost my scissors. Oh well, do it the old-fashioned way. It's on the other side I need to go, I think. Yeah, do it the old-fashioned way. Maybe it's so cold. It may not work very well. Where did I put my scissors? They work. They work there. Not the easiest to tear off. That is for sure. Good way to stab yourself. Maybe not. Ouch. Been a lot easier with scissors. There. Got it. What is in this box? Comes in a 2-part kit. So that's the pretty part. The other box was the pretty thing. Oh, that's the bottom A-frame part. It's heavy. Yep. Bolts loose in here. That's always good. Good way to lose parts. Have them just dangling around like that. But hopefully they're all there. More chin plate things. I don't know if those are for the no, that's good. Try something else. I don't know what's in here. More bolts. More bolts. Little tiny bolts. Those would be for. Okay, what else is it for? There for now. That's the main part right there. This thing. Now, wheels go here. I can see. Is that threaded? Or is that straight through? I can't tell. That's interesting. There's some on here. There's one missing. Oh no, there's one in here. Okay, that's not a good sign. Starting off a little rough here now. Oh, there's the rest of it. Ah, that's sad, but at least they're there. I should package that a little more carefully. That's all I'm gonna say. Having that just dangling. Alright, make sure you put the washer on first, then lock washer, and then nut. I've seen one video where somebody put the lock washer on first, then the regular washer, then the nut. I'm like, what's the purpose of the lock washer then? Anyway, so I assume, let's see, there's some more bolts here. These are smaller. Oh, heard one go ding, ding. Keep them in the box. Is that threaded? I think this is threaded. Yep, it's threaded. Not very well, but I assume it is threaded. That appears to be what I got here. A threaded, almost like a ½ inch right there. So, yeah, that's threaded. Nuts straight through. Alright, pause for a minute. Alright, so here's the tools necessary to put this together. I think. I'll find out as I go, but that's about all I'm going to use, I think. Then some ratchets. I got the ratchets. I forgot to get my breaker bar. But if I need it, I'll get there. Otherwise, I'll probably just use vice grips. Honestly, but yeah, there's some parts over there that were, like I said, when I opened it, it's free in here. I wasn't too happy about that, but you know, it looks like everything's here from what I can tell. You know, this isn't like that complicated as it is, really. So, you know, you're just gonna put the wheels on. Interesting note, there's different size wheels. So pay attention to the size of wheels you're using. And there's more wheels over here. Alright, I think this is all the wheels. So, there's all the wheels. There's these two that are like 3 inch, and these are like 2.5, I think. So, pay attention. And like I said, when I first opened, a couple of these were loose in the box too. So, oh, and there, I forgot to mention, I'm gonna use that on it as well. The thread locker, just to make sure it doesn't undo ever. And it's the blue one, so it is, you can untorque it with a normal wrench, but I think it's important. But as far as assembly, put the wheels on. I gotta figure out which wheels go where though. Oh, okay. Bigger wheels, you can almost tell from the picture. Bigger wheels on the outside, smaller wheels on the inside. So these two go on these threaded ones there, the threads. So these go on there. Standard caster wheels, so nothing too fancy there, you know. But this is kind of how it comes, you know, in 2 boxes with all kinds of parts. They're really not that complicated though. So I'm going to start building it. First the wheels on, and then I'll put these with these here. If you look, this is the part that goes into the A-frame part, and you see this curved edge there. That's the edge you want down, because that's how it's gonna. This is a lift. You can fold it. You know, it's a foldable lift, so that way you can get it out of the way. This hole, I assume that hole is for fold-up storage, and this hole, see, it's reinforced. So when you're putting this thing together, you want to make sure you get all those pieces in the right areas. All right, so anyway, see, this is reinforced through, so you can't crush this down at all. Same up here, you can't crush that down when you're tightening the bolt. And I'm going to thread lock everything. But yeah, as far as those things go, they just go to hold. They're just little bumpers that hold. Again, if you look at the picture, you can see them right there. See, I don't know if it'll show up or not, but they're just showing right there on each side of the thing in the third hole. And you can see it goes right in here, and it just goes through into there. So it's pretty basic of a setup, really. So when you put the arms in, you know, the extender arms, you know, that hold the weight of the motor, basically, they go back to here, so they pivot. They pivot on this point here. That's where the curved part would be sitting, like right in here. And then this is just the upper part that has a pin. So there's a pin that you put through only. You don't put a bolt in there. That's just a pin to hold it in the down position. That's what makes it work. All right, so I'll get started. I'll show you putting one wheel on, and then I'll put the rest of the wheels on. You know, remember, this smaller wheel goes here and here. Again, these flip either way, so it doesn't matter, but here and here. The bigger wheels go here, here, and then on the edge of this, there's another spot right there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but they go there, and on there, like that. So I'll show that when it's assembled. So again, these are threaded, so that's why there's no bolts here. You just put them through with lock washers on them, I imagine. I'll look here again. But in the owner's manual, it's kind of, you know, the typical cheap owner's manual. It doesn't go into a great detail about the assembly of this thing. Additional lubrication. And we'll just go with that. Alright, anyway, that's not a big deal. Well, yeah. In the sense that here's all of the extra pieces. Well, they didn't bring any flat washers in there anyway, now when I'm looking at it. So here's, I'm going to end up losing some of these if I'm not careful. Here's all of the little bolts. And one in here. Little washer. But anyway, those are what's going to hold the wheels on. I'll show you that here in a minute. But like I said, I'm going to Loctite everything. But we'll put one on. You know, that's going to be like a 9/16, you know. So I'm just going to put 9/16 or 3/8, you know, 9/16 right there. That's what that is. And I'll get it started. I'll see you in a bit then. Alright, so I'm back in here. So I got the parts. So that's to hold one wheel on. And I'm just going to put Loctite right now on every one of those. So this is just to make sure it stays together. Come on, Loctite. There it is. Just a little Loctite. I should just tilt all the bolts, because every time I do this, it takes a little bit for the Loctite to come back to the bottom. There, that's enough Loctite. All right, there we go. Enough Loctite. And I'm gonna put it together. And just bolt it up on here now. What's this on? Of course. There. You're not seeing what I'm seeing here. I have my camera tilted. Again, I need a stand for this thing. But anyway, that's how that goes. And then I need a better stand for my camera. So anyway, you just got to see me drop my camera. Interesting predicament here. So let me think about this here. Let me get back to you. We'll sit up on this box here. I think that'll be the right height. Not the most stable of all implements. This is really kind of a bugger for me right now. It's so small to see. But I think that's right. I think you can see. So, anyway. Not the most stable environment, but it's a GoPro. It can handle it. That's how I'm going to lose it. Alright, so let's get this set back here now. Started, but let's not cross thread it, because like I said, these threads are not the greatest on this thing. Oh, they just kind of suck. There, I think it started. I'm liking the threading on that. There we go. I'm gonna get an extension. Good to have an extension rather than just put it right on. There goes my GoPro. This is about the worst box ever for this. So, I don't know if you're going to be able to see. You can't, and that's life. Put an extension on it and get them started. I'm just going to tighten them all the way. I get all 4 bolts in. Turn the caster up. You can get in there. Again, you don't want to over tighten this thing. Snap them off pretty easy. So Just want them snug. You want to make sure you get the washer compressed all the way, not where you're going to snap the things off and break everything, because they aren't very big, you know, bolts. I'd say, I don't know how many inch-pounds or whatever, just snug. There. Snug it is. Alright, that's pretty much, so, you know, these go on like this. The washers, these flat washers in there, and then the lock washer. So that's how that goes together, like that, with the metal in between, of course, of the frame. So I'll show you when I get one. So I guess I can do one now. We got 4 bolts here. Right out of the way. These are gonna go down there. Something like that. Lock tight. Nice. Cold in here tonight. So my Loctite is a little goopy. It's like molasses right now. Loctited, and I'll just slide them on. That. Just realized how hard those bolts are and be to get to. Those ones were a little bit difficult, because they're way inside. So, should have probably done these first, so I don't have that bolt in the way. Now we got a bolt in the way. There, got that on. Be kind of dexterous with your fingers without me. See, and just feel your way on. Get the bolt started. I'm gonna flip this that way. Now, get the bolt like this. And see if I can feel my way together. So, this thing together is going to be kind of interesting, because it's deep inside the chamber of this frame, you know? You can see slotted. FYI, that slot, useful. Got some Loctite on 2 bolts here. Because, and again, on Loctite, you want to make sure you're trying to get the Loctite where you're going to need it. Especially on short bolts. Make sure you get it to the top of the bolt. Leave the bottom alone. So, now when you're putting these together, I didn't think about this until after I got the first one done. The bolt you can put in these back bolts. You want the slot all the way back towards the easier part to get to. So now when you take your finger and put it in here, it's not so far back. So you can get it started. Get the washer on there. I'm going to add this to the beginning of my video so you can see, you'll see how hard it was for me in the video to do it the other way, which was with this all the way like this, bolted in. I put a bolt here first in this first hole, and then I had to reach all the way in. But instead, you can just slide that back. It's easier to get the bolt. Those first bolts started this way. Right there. Those deep in bolts. Right here. Get that one, that one, that one. Now, you don't have to tighten them. Don't tighten them down yet. You just want to get the bolt, the nut started on there. There. Now you can slide that and then put the bolts in here. See how far that moved back? Now try to put a bolt or a nut and washer on that setup. It was a pain. I got it, but oops, I forgot. I have to put the regular washer on first. There. Those two are on. Tight, and then do the same on those two. And then I'll put those on. It's all pretty much the same from this point. So once I get the wheels on, I'll be back with you. Okay, I'm back. I got this assembled here with the wheels here on it now. All four are on there. Wanted to show this one little bit here as well. So let me get this apart real quick. This is how it came packed, right? With the bolt together on the caster assembly. Some are that way, some were loose in there, you know, that whole story. They were rolling around in the box. Anyway, I found them and put them on each. Now I'm taking them off so I can put the wheels on. Alright, so I got my wheels assembled now. On there. In the A-frame I call it, but whatever you want to call it. This is the main part, you know, of it. And then these, like I said, they have a curved end on them down here. As I bring it up, you know, there's a curved end on it. I want to make sure that curved end is pointed down so that these can pivot on that axis. And my box is in the way. Stupid box. Hold on, get out of the way for a minute. Should always clean your garage completely before you start projects. But I'm so excited to get this done, because then I can actually pull the motor on my truck, which is a whole nother video series that I already started. It did basically part one, or the intro of that. Put it out on YouTube. That was my first video really on YouTube. You know, I've done some small little things on some other channel, but anyway, I'll have to check it out sometime. Alright, so how I'm going to do this. I'm going to go through where the inner part of the bolt, so it's not sticking out so much. And that way I don't catch my foot on it as much, or my leg, you know. And then these things go on too, right over here. Two of these on each side. These things. Now you want that curve, or this square cut on the bottom, latched in there. Alright, so I got two bolts. See? Different size. Just realized that's a smaller bolt. Alright. Let's see here. So, what we got over here now? Got two small bolts and two big. Smaller bolts. Alright, the bigger bolts are going to be for the main frame, or the bars that I'm putting in. For sure. So, but you want to make sure you're grabbing the right stuff for this. Alright, the smaller bolt. Alright, let's look at this drawing here. Smaller bolts is going to be for the back bars, I imagine. And the bigger bolt is going to be for the you know, the arms themselves, because that's a pivot point on there. So smaller bolts are less, and there's a bigger bolt there that's in the arm assembly already, and it's got those there. Yeah, those are just the supports. There's some supports in here. We'll get to the smaller bolts later, but the bigger bolts have a purpose right now. I don't know if I got an extra one. Got 4 big bolts. Got those bolts in there. Well, I'll figure it out. It's not a big deal. We'll figure it out as we go. But anyway, I just wanted to get this because it's important to put this together right. You want the bigger bolts in there supporting that pivot point. And then these go on that side. Ding. Love it. Let's get back up here and put this in. Alright, so not much to this. You can put this with the nice part. Put the smaller bolt down for now. Bigger bolt. Goes through. Goes through. Make sure this is pointing upwards. Put this one on. There. I don't know what you're seeing there. Alright, let's see. Having a little bit of a interesting. A little tightness there. And I didn't think I was going to need a hammer, but there I did. Alright, that looks about right. There. Alright. Big washer. See? That's how that looks. Interesting. Because that's it's this side's loose and this side's super duper tight. Yeah, you know, that's what you call tacking it in there. Bolt, more Loctite. Maybe. It's so cold, like I said. It's not wanting to come out very good. Come on, Loctite. Oh, this is slowing my process down quite. Here, I'm going to put a little more. This is a big threaded bolt, so it's going to squeeze more in there. There. Alright. So I should have the right socket here. Oh, well, I don't. I misjudged. That was a big. When I did my demo on size, I got it wrong. Alright, let's see what I got here. That's the biggest one on there. Yeah, alright. This is where you run into, oh, that's a big bolt. So, needless to say, you improvise where necessary. And you get out. What you need when you need it. I mean, that's such a big bolt. So, the old farmer technique. You tighten down with, and oh, by the way, yes, there's a proper way to use, and I wasn't. Vice grips. So now that's too loose. And you want to make sure you're using them in the correct orientation, because then they dig in, and then it spits. Okay, I gotta get my other big vice grips out. Or something. Let's see. Maybe I got a bolt. Please fit. Oh man, that's a big bolt. Alright. 1 inch to get my other tools out. The ones that I've had forever that I've lost most. I got one big enough to fit on this side. There. Let's try this one. That fits better. Alright. Now, crank that puppy in. So, FYI, it's a 1 1/16 bolt on here. So it's a 1 1/16 here. I'm gonna flip this around. I'd rather crank on the nut rather than the bolt. Again, orientation is everything on this. When you're vice gripping. There. Here, we'll just say right there. I don't know what you'll see, but we'll give it a shot. There. Oh, that's good. Like I say, hammers come in handy. Yeah, that's pretty good. Same on the other side. All that happens is for this, you put a pin through this way. It's just got a pin. That's what holds. That's kind of a cheesy pin. Little ring there. Don't like that, but that's what I got right now. That is gonna get reinforced a little better eventually, but anyway, that'll work. And then, of course, this is the other side to give you one of these to put in. On this side, right there. So anyway, you know, the other side's the same thing, so I'm gonna pause now and finish it probably tomorrow. Actually, I'm tired. I've had enough. And I'll finish it tomorrow. Alright, there, this side's done. The bottom is done. Alright, so I tipped it up here so you can see the bolts that go on the bottom here that are part of the main pivot point, beam, the main beam, I guess you could say. You want to make sure the hydraulic jack thing is pointing inwards, because this is where you're going to mount your hydraulic jack, right here on this piece. So that has to be pointing inwards. So it's actually going to slope backwards towards the back, the whole thing. I'll show you that once I get this. But what I thought interesting here was these didn't come with lock washers. This is how it came, with just a flat washer and a nut. That seems, you should have a lock washer on these bolts, but I'm going to use Loctite anyway, so I'm just going to go with what they gave me. I'm not going to go buy a washer for those. Those are, by the way, these are 7/8 socket, so you have to have a 7/8 as well for this part to do these bolts. So this is a 7/8 right here. That fits that. All right, so I'm going to go with that now and finish this up. All right, I got them Loctited down. And now I got this set. I'm gonna flip it back over again. It's wheeling, so be careful with it. All right, there. That's what it kind of looks like. Now you can see. The only thing I got left to do here is to take this bolt out and put the bars here. Bars on. Those go on to support the weight. It makes a triangle, you know. geometry comes into play as usual. And then I got the ram, which is going to go on in there next too. So that's kind of FYI. Whoops, I got it 180 off. Something like that. There. So that's how it goes. You want this out so it's easy to get to. And you know, this is going to pivot on a bolt here. A big bolt, I might add. Don't get skimpy on the bolt. It's probably this bolt right here. You know, see, you want to make sure you're using the right bolt so there's plenty of threads to crimp it down. All right, so that bolt's for there. And then they've already got the bolts. Oops, well, you can see, wow, they did a great job. Anyway, they got the bolts there for the pivot. I mean, the bars go there. These bars go there. That'll complete the install. See, they're bent to fit right up on there. They fit right in there. See? That'll be how that goes. And that'll give it its strength to be able to pull 2 tons, it says. But we'll talk about that once we get there. Alright, so I got a little further on this now. So, again, when you're putting this together, see, you want to make sure you get the right bolts in the right areas. Some of them are different sizes and whatnot. So you want the biggest bolts, especially at this pivot point here. So I found, which looks to be the right bolt. Again, no lock washer on this one. But this is the biggest, one of the bigger bolts, you know, they have in this set. Just make sure you're using the biggest bolts, especially where all the weight's going to be, you know, on that pivot point. So that can have up to, you know, basically 2 tons of force on it. So you want a big bolt. And see, again, the threads, you can see the threads on both sides, so you can cinch it down without running out of threads and hitting the back part of the bolt. So anyway, that's where I'm at with this. So I'll finish up and show you the end results here in a minute. Oh, and one other thing about this is that this is a really high stress point. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little grease on this bolt right here. You know, just to make sure. Use this. I'm using some pretty high. I gotta take my cap off. High stress, sticky stuff. Just a little bit does a lot for you. I don't know if you can see. Probably upside down. There. Just put a little grease on here. I recommend anyway, because this is going to be a pivot point. So, pretty high stress area. Best time to do it when you're assembling. I might put a little grease inside there too. Just shoot a little inside. You don't want it too much because you don't want grease everywhere. You just want to get it lubed up. This is the best time to do that sort of thing, you know, get it lubed up. That way it's as greased up as it's ever going to get, you know, because this doesn't have any kind of bushings. It's just metal to metal basically. But that's an important one. This is another important one there, you know, that goes on the ram here. So before I assemble that to the ram, again, grease that and the hole in the ram. And then you'll see here I have to turn that ram because it's 90 degrees off right now. So, you know, a little bit of work there, but not, you know, just use my screwdriver and flip it. I'll show that. Anyway, here, back in a bit. One other thing here. When you're putting that bolt through all that grease, make sure you clean this. Because one thing Loctite doesn't do well with is a lot of grease. You know, you want your threads clean if you're going to Loctite something, because that's the only way Loctite can really bond. It has to literally make like almost a bond, you know, with the metal to be able to Loctite itself in there. So that's important in the sense that if you want your Loctite to actually hold the nut on, you better make sure that you've, and yeah, I'm putting it on even on this side a little bit. I'm almost out apparently. Using it on this project alone, used a lot because of the big threads. But anyway, you know, again, big bolt, put some grease in there, Loctite it, you'll be in better shape. Alright, so yeah, as you can see now, I've flipped this up, get the weight off of this cylinder so I can put this bolt in. Again, using this grease on here, this red and tacky. I'll show you in a minute what it is, but on here too. And again, you want to use the right bolt. Try not to get the grease over where you're going to be Loctiting it again, because you're defeating your Loctite then. Alright, so I've spun this cylinder. I put that bolt in. But I do want to mention one other thing. A little bit of danger here. Having this thing up like this. If you were to like really fast kick this and get enough momentum where this were to cut, or if you were to tip it somehow, and this, if this were to come down on you, let me just tell you, that would probably cut your skull. So, when you're working with this stuff, you have to really be careful. You know, this stuff is heavy and you don't want crushing your skull. I just thought about that as I had that up, and I wasn't, you know, I was careful, but just something, if that thing's up like that, and if that thing were to flip over and hit you, you see how low that goes. If I was working in here, working on this thing, and that thing were to flip over and whack me in the head, I'd probably be laying here bleeding out pretty good, probably dead. Pretty much would end me, I think. So, just FYI on this stuff. When you're working with it, try to use some sense about it. Alright. Oh yeah, and this is the grease I'm using. This Red and Tacky from Lucas Oil Products. It's called Red and Tacky number 2. It's super sticky, and it's a good, and it's a synthetic grease blend. But this is another bolt here. This one that goes into the ram. I'd grease this ram area here, and maybe a little bit of the bolt here, but again, staying away from the threads. And again, these bolts here, like this one, don't crank it down too tight. You just want it tight. You don't want to bind this up too bad, because you're pinching the ram if you tighten it too much. So you want it tight, but you don't want to be like creating extra friction too bad. Not that that pivots or moves that much. You know, it's only a, you know, 3-inch top movement, or 4-inch maybe top movement on that thing. But still, just FYI, you know, down there it's probably only moving 10 degrees, 20 degrees at most, you know. But anyway, you know, when you're doing this stuff, just be aware. This is another cinch point. If you tighten this way, way, way over tight, you're squeezing that in there. It doesn't have to be. You just don't want that to fall off. That's the important thing. You want it tight enough, Loctite it tight enough so that never falls off. Because that, again, this is where all your weight, this, and that, is carrying all that weight, that weight of that engine. And, you know, again, use these marks here, you know, when you're using this thing. Be aware that 2 ton is way back here when you have the arm all the way in. You know, if you have it extended out, you can only do a 1/2 ton because of the, you know, the force and the mechanical nature of it. You know, you've got a lever and you're pulling again or pushing against that lever. The only way you can get 2 ton is when you're locked in back here. You can't get 2 ton in the frontmost position. You're going to get the longest length, but the least lift capability. All right. All right, so it's almost together now. I got to tighten that bolt. I had everything for that one. Flat washer, lock washer, bolt nut. And then down here on the bottom part of this triangle, you know, part, you know, the strap, the brace, I had the bolt, the nut, and the lock washer, but no flat washer. And here I lost the flat washer and lock washer. So I'm gonna have to get, you know, flat washer, lock washer for that. You know, I'll be able to take this apart later. I'm not gonna Loctite these then right now until I get the parts for them to fix that 100%. And there's just a handle you put on the back, 4 bolts right there. You know, the handle, and then this thing's done. So I got the 4 bolts with washers over there. I don't know if you can see, but there's the 4 bolts washers. So that'll complete the assembly of this thing then. So I'll take one more quick little video of it all together. All right, bye. All right, so I got it all assembled. The handle on, you know, just the 4 bolts like I showed on before. It's all together now. One thing, if you are missing bolts, you know, make sure you get the right hardness. If you look, these are all 4.8. I believe it says 4.8. Oh no, that's an 8.8. So look at your bolts, you know, that are in that. If you are missing like one of those, for instance, down there, look at the other one. Try to determine, maybe call the company, the Strongway company, if you are missing bolts, because you want to put the right shear strength in areas, you know, that it requires it. You know, this is an 8.8, higher density, more brittle though. You know, that's the thing. You know, you trade flexibility for strength a little bit, so it has a higher, you know, shear point, but it may snap off easier. So you want to use the right bolts for the right area and for the right, you know, stuff on these things. You don't want to assume anything. Again, this is probably one that should be, you know, tightened down at least. You know, maybe Loctite this one because your chain's on there. This one I wouldn't do anything with because it's your slider point, you know, so you want to be able to remove that one kind of easy, because if you want to slide this in and out, just cinch it down with a wrench just to make sure, you know, it's there. But that's about it. I don't have anything else really. Oh, you know, you might want to get hydraulic oil. You know, find out which one. I don't know which one. It may say on here somewhere, but get the right hydraulic oil for that ram. You know, it might be a little low. It depends. Usually they fill them up, but sometimes I've had them where they're low. But, you know, it's together. It's ready to lift. And it did come with that leveler, as I called it lever at the beginning, but leveler. You know, you can see it attached here. Again, when you're lifting with the motor, make sure you're picking bolts and deep enough threads and, you know, something substantial to lift from, so you don't rip or break the bolts off in the motor and potentially hurt yourself. Use, again, some common sense when you're doing any of this stuff. Take it slow when you're doing any lifting, you know. Again, this is all just accident waiting to happen, you know. It can be. So FYI, it's all done. Ready to throw the boxes out here in a minute. Just got a few little parts to get at the parts store, but otherwise it's together. Oh, and there is a spot for the handle on this. Here's the handle. I forgot to grab the handle out, but handle just slides down in there when not in use. And you know, you got a nice handle here too. So I don't know, Strongway 2-ton hydraulic hoist from Northern Tool. I'm kind of happy with it. You know, it came with parts. You know, again, you might be able to find one cheaper, but does it come with the leveler? You know, you're going to spend another 30, 40, maybe 50 bucks for a leveler, especially a 1.5 ton leveler like that one is. It's not a bad leveler. It's something to work with there. It's going to be handy when I'm pulling this motor out of this truck here. So that's what this is for. All right, thanks for your time. Bye.